Hello, lovely YouTube family. So today is another one of my non-face educational videos. And these are going to be based on typology and type growth, with today focusing on the ENFJ and their shadow side, the INFP, which the ENFJ is their shadow side. So both of them. I had a life coaching client say, why don't you focus on growth based on types? And I thought that is a brilliant idea. And then I thought, why don't I just knock out 2 and 1 each time? Because every type has a shadow type. So to get started, if you aren't aware, there are 8 cognitive functions for each type, which is how they prefer to move in the world, and they go in a certain order. For the ENFJ, we have FE, which I'm going to, for the purposes of my illustration today, just give you a very broad synopsis, but please feel free to research these. Oh my gosh, and this is so dusty. It's all good. So extroverted feeling, I'm going to say, is all about connecting and warmth. So it's very group and outward focused. The next function typically for an ENFJ, and I say typically because some of us jump, like myself, I jump to my third, which I'll show you in a moment, and skip over this. But the second is introverted intuition, which is essentially future patterns, kind of linear thinking, able to connect the dots and see the future. It's almost like a psychic function. Next we have extroverted sensing, or SE, and this is being in basically the present, and so it's interesting. This is present and basically being involved with kind of like your, I'm going to say your 5 senses. So the here and now. So you get a little bit of both, but I skip my future and go to the present. And then there is introverted thinking, which is TI, which is basically your why, or your subjective logic. So these are the top 4 for an ENFJ, and then you've got your bottom 4. So this is sort of the tip of the iceberg for the ENFJ. And then the INFP, their first function would be FI, introverted feeling, which is basically I want to say self-values, kind of like your feelings, how you feel about things that you love. It's very subjective. Next, they have NE, or extroverted intuition, which is kind of, I would call it the brainstorming function. It's connecting things that normally wouldn't be connected. Whoop, I'm trying to hold my camera in one hand while I do this until I figure out how to get my tripod to film this style. So bear with me. The third function for an INFP would be SI, or introverted sensing, which is details or traditions or considering the past. So I'll say past and traditions. They're kind of like things comfy, cozy. Whoop. And then the last function is TE, or extroverted thinking, which is thinking out loud, and systems building is what I'll call it. And voila, you have yourself an INFP. So an INFP, basically their bottom 4 is, if you take this ENFJ 4 and put it down here, you've got an INFP. So this is the bottom of the INFP's metaphorical iceberg, and this is the bottom of the ENFJ's metaphorical iceberg. So these are the strengths. Here, I'll change the color here. Strengths of the ENFJ, and then of course their weaknesses, and then these are the strengths typically of the INFP, and these are typically their weaknesses until they get developed. Of course, everybody can do everything, and someone with a growth mindset, of course, would be able to strengthen these lower functions, and that's, of course, what I'm hoping we can do today to make a more well-rounded society, people. And I will say your 4th function, and even your 3rd, can be sort of, especially the 4th, can be pretty underdeveloped, I should say, in whatever your personality type is. So for me, knowing my why, that's something I have to work on as well. So with an INFP, they may struggle with their systems building, kind of getting a routine going. So for ENFJs, I recommend that you focus on building these muscles, because essentially you've really bulked up your FE. You're good at connecting with people. You're good at being warm with people. You are highly empathetic. You can captivate an audience. You got this. You're good to go. Boom. So you don't even have to worry about it. And even your NI is probably pretty strong, right? And your SE. You probably put yourself together well. You probably are good at pretty much kind of seeing how things will play out, especially in a social situation. So if you're an ENFJ, I would recommend working on, and I'm going to use black to signify what we're working on here. I would say start with your TI, and then, so I'm going to say ENFJ growth area. I think it's getting blurry. I apologize. So know your why. So these are introverted. So these are things you're going to have to go kind of away from the tribe. And by tribe, I mean your people, your family, your friends, those that you connect with, and figure out why you do what you do, why it's important to you, the logic behind why you're connecting, and all of the stuff you are strong with, so that you can really, really be the well-rounded person you need to be, which is essentially integrating your shadow, your INFP. Make sure you're working on why you love what you love and the things that you love, and do what you love. And then, of course, I'm an improviser, so I've definitely bulked up my NE. So much fun. This is a fun one to work on. So this is kind of just being that clever, creative, connecting random things instead of everything always being like the NI, where it's just a linear, you can sort of just connect the dots like this, whereas NE is more like here, here, maybe here, maybe here. It's kind of go whoop, whoop, whoop. You know, it's connecting all sorts of ways, whereas NI is going like this. One way, baby. So work on that. And then also, don't forget details. I should put details in here because that's part of SI, which I struggle with. But I heard details. You always hear from everybody. So important, right? So if you're an ENFJ, work on those traditions. I'm terrible about that. I don't uphold a lot of traditions, and I can't remember the past. So if you can, I would say get a calendar, a journal, something that helps you to remember things. Journaling is great. Really, really great. And then, of course, our deepest weakness, I think, and you tell me if I'm wrong, ENFJs, is building systems, building routines, and thinking aloud. We don't really do that too much. So that is how you, as an ENFJ, would grow and bulk up. Now, for the INFP, what you would work on, you would start with your fourth function. So maybe I'll use this side for the INFP. So start with your TE. So just like an ENFJ, so if you have an ENFJ friend, you're probably, if you're growing and you have a growth mindset, you're probably both working on this. Trying to get routines, trying to know, when I say, gosh, system is building, essentially how things kind of work together, that's a challenge. So that part of your brain and your daily routine, and then for you INFPs, you're going to work on all these four. Boo, boo, boo. This is so messy. So normally you would love and feel very comfortable by yourself and what you love. Now you're going to have to go back to the tribe and connect with others, which can be a challenge, I know. But find your people and it'll make it a lot easier. Then your NI, so trying to see things in a linear fashion and look towards the future and see how different things create that cause and effect and those consequences. But also being very present. So mindfulness, you might find that meditating, taking deep breaths, breath work can help you with that. And enjoying the pleasure of the five senses, maybe lighting a candle, maybe wearing perfumes, which you probably already do. because INFPs are super cool and they do really cool things like that. I feel like perfumes are so underrated, but I'm a huge perfume nerd. So indulge in those, enjoy it. And then you'll also be working on your TI, which is your why and your subjective logic. So that, my friends, is growth, kind of growth mindset, ways to grow for the ENFJ and INFP, each other's shadow side. Oh gosh. Again, I need to work on being able to hold the camera while I write. It's tricky. Not trying to cross that out, trying to highlight it and underline it, basically. But that's my first video on this. I'm going to try to get to the other types as well if this one's successful and people like it and it's a good idea. If not, no worries. If you don't know your type, I say take a free test online, and then I recommend reading over. There's a website that I really love called typeinmind.com, and they go over the functions and kind of verifying. And if the type that you get doesn't sound like you, then read a similar type that you think might, or maybe all of them, until you get to the one you're like, oh yes, that's me. Because at one point I was like, oh, I kind of feel like an ENFP, but then when I read the ENFP description, because they have any first, I was like, I don't do that. I'm not constantly walking around the world making these random connections all the time like they would, or they do. But then when it said, oh, you consider everybody, and you put others first and stuff, I was like, oh, that's me. So you could start with maybe 16personalities.com. Get your type, then confirm it here. That's what I recommend. There's a bunch of other websites and YouTubers that do break down the functions and do help with typology. So once you know it, come back here and find out how to grow. Thanks for watching, everybody. Don't forget, I do life coaching. I would love to talk about your type and help you grow in your type. And go to RebeccaPebble.com, which I should write here. Actually, even though it'll be on the end screen, I'm sure. I've been having fun with editing that. And you can email me, RebeccaPebble@yahoo.com, for life coaching. And I'd love to connect with you if you need anything, life coaching wise. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. All right, bye.